At the start of the day, Easy to Break consisted of 8 individual mono tracks, each containing, well, almost each of them containing its own separate instrument. Today, Easy to Break consists of 2 tracks that are a stereo bounce of those 8 mono tracks. That was my next big hurdle in the song recording process. At the end of this video, I'm just going to show you the footage of me executing the bounce. But before I do that, let me talk about what I did to prepare for the bounce. The first thing I did is actually made a very rough mix down using the studio monitors that I have in my little shed space. Down that I thought, might not be perfect, but sounded pretty darn good. And I listened to that through a few different sound sources. The idea being that process would help me identify anything that might seem out of place using one of those other sources and then maybe adjust that in the mix. I did make some minor adjustments to the decisions I had made, but mostly I was really happy with the balance of sounds that I produced just by doing what I liked with the studio monitors, which is a good sign. After that, I made some little chalk marks next to the sliders on my Porta Studio.
I hope you can see there, there's some little dots scratched next to the sliders,
so that I had a guide of where I wanted the sliders to be for most of the bouncing process. Then I did a little bit of what I like to call pre-mixing, which really means editing individual tracks before you do the bounce in a way that will just make the mixing in the bounce a little bit easier. I mostly was adding silence in a few places, and I also found a way to implement the trim effect that I wanted to achieve at the end of the big guitars that introduce the song. I want to give a quick shout out, by the way, to Mr. Aaron McDonald, who in a comment to the last video recommended what was probably a very clever way to do that type of effect. I tried it, and I think my brain isn't strong enough to do it the way that he was imagining, so I ended up just doing a little pre-bounce bounce of only those guitar tracks and very slowly moving the faders, and what turned out to be a gentler tremolo than I was initially planning for, but I think it kind of works, and it's sort of the best I can do, and at this point I'm ready to move on, so that's what I'm going to live with. By the way, one more thing before I actually show you the bounce. On the topic of Mr. McDonald, you should go check out his YouTube channel. He has done something really surprising and amazing and cool, and that is he's gone back to some of the songs that I wrote in May but deemed to be my trash songs, songs that I wasn't going to work on anymore. And he's trying to turn those into treasures, I guess. He's worked on 2 songs already. I think the work that he's done is amazing. I, in fact, am very inspired by the things that he has done with those songs and just his general aesthetic, which is quite different from mine, but in a way that I really admire and respect. So, Aaron, if you see this, I love what you're doing, man. Everybody else, please go check out his channel. I'll put a link to right up there. And now you get to see the bounce. Now, bear in mind a few things. The first is that because of all that pre-mixing, I'm not moving the sliders as much as I would normally have to, because I've kind of already achieved the same effect by just recording silence in many places. Also bear in mind that the dance moves that you're about to see happen almost involuntarily. It's definitely just, it's what happens. It's the thing that you don't normally get to see in this process, and I guess the point of this video is to show you those sorts of things, notwithstanding my immense embarrassment. So please don't judge me too harshly for my seated dance moves.
Let's click bounce, select those 2 tracks, and I guess we're just gonna go for it.
I wasted our time, wasted the buzz, wasted the vibe, waiting for you to apologize for some made-up crime. For breaking a promise you didn't make, for failing to smile when I wouldn't fake. That was your first mistake. Don't make in your eyes. They're all nerf, but it's a bullseye every time. I'm tough as a tin foil tank. You're safe as a failing bank. I dish it, but I can't take. Don't bend. Tough as a tin foil tank. You're safe as a failing bank. I dish it, but I can't take. Don't bend. Easy to break. Easy to break. Easy to break.
Now we just have to see how that sounds on playback.
On playback, I was really happy with the way that bounce sounded.
For breaking a promise you didn't make, for failing to smile when I wouldn't fake. That was your fault.
I also listened back through my sort of more like studio headphones and thought that like the stereo balance was really nice and everything sounded good, so I went ahead and saved the session, shut down the Tascam, which also saves the session. I'm gonna live with that bounce as the basis for the rest of my recording, and I am excited to be through that sort of critical and thus nerve-wracking stage of the process. Now I can get back to the fun of adding more elements. You'll see stuff about those elements in future videos. But for now, I appreciate you watching this video. I'd love to hear war stories that you have about bounces that went well or really poorly. And if you record using a DAW, I'd love to hear what you think about the bouncing process in general. Does it seem insane? Do you think there might be any practical advantages to doing bounces in the middle of the process, mixes in the middle of the process? That's honestly one of the things that I love about DAWless recording, is that it forces you to do that. But mostly, I'm just grateful that you watched the video. So thank you so much for your time. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you around.